Hello and welcome to Qsports. I am Mumudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. Coming up on the show, we're talking exclusively about the African Games, the performance of Gina Mariam Bass Bite, scooping the double medal, winning gold in both the 100 and yesterday in the 200 meters. Well, her name reverberates around the continent, especially at the University of Ghana Stadium yesterday, where she completes her crown, defending that 200 meters gold medal title she won in Rabat, Morocco. We'll look at that exclusively, of course, later with Adedarami, who will be joining me in the studio to talk about the African Games, the Gambia's performance, and also in the absence of good sports infrastructure, if you have a Gambian athletes performing at the continental level, that's very good. So how about if we have the sports infrastructure ready, especially for all the sports? We'll also take a little look at the Gambia's first division, but with a specific focus on the game between Marimo and Banjul United, because this game was played at the Bakau Mini Stadium, but the state of the pitch would be shocking if you see the pictures. We'll also be looking at that. And thank you very much if you're just joining us. First, we're going to start straight. We will go to Accra, precisely at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium in Accra, where the 200 meters women's final for the athletics was held. And no doubt, expectedly, Gina Bass, crowned champion, won the gold medal, which makes it a double for her in these African Games, the 13th edition in Ghana. Well, to describe the scene for us in the commentary is our very own Amadou Tamba of Q Radio. Let's get the description of the 200 meters final, how it went through Amadou Tamba's commentary.
Well, the women's 200 meters race is on, and of course, Gina Mariam Bass Bite looking forward to defending her crown. Gina bends properly on to the final 100 meters. This is less than 100 meters. Gina is, of course, leading. Well, Mensa is closing down Gina, but it looks like Gina will surely maintain her crown. Gina Bass! 23.14 seconds. Gina Mariam Bass Bite defends her crown. An event she won in 2019 in Rabat. Gina Bass worked so hard to, of course, retain her crowd here.
Well, that's the description of the race there by our very own Amadou Tamba with that beautiful voice. And we will still join the same Amadou Tamba, who brings us a report of how the race went in sequence.
Gajaga, it's a pleasure to speak to you from Accra.
Gina has won this crown since 2019.
Yes, as I said, it was a wonderful moment for the Gambia and for Gina Bass as well. It was a very difficult African Games here because football, volleyball, and other aspects.
And came here and defended this crown again. For the ladies around the African continent to take this crown off Gina, it's really going to require a lot of persistence and hard work, because this woman is not here to stop anymore. Live here at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, where the 200 meters finals women, of course, just ended. Gina Mariam Bass Bite has defended her crown, a crown she won in 2019 in the Rabat Games. Gina was, of course, facing the challenge of the likes of Olayinka Olajide from Nigeria, Janet Mensah from Ghana, and other top athletes who finished at the top of their heats in the 200 meters. And Gina Bass absolutely came to this ground and stood out to, of course, defend her crown. She started very well, but as she always say, at the bend over there, that was where she picked up her pace and knew exactly how to end this race. And Gina Mariam Bass Bite have absolutely ended it in the magnificent way, or in the most magnificent manners to end the race. And she has now defended her crown. Gina has now won 2 gold medals. She won the 100 meters and won the 200 meters. Any race that she started along the way, she has absolutely managed to keep herself going, and of course finish first in the heats, first in the semi-finals, enforced in the finals as well. Gambians back home, Gambians abroad should and will always be definitely proud of this woman in Gina Mariam Bass Bite. She has done a tremendous job here at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. And because of Gina Bass, the national anthem of the Gambia will be played here for the second time in this 13th African Games here in Accra. From the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, this is Amadou Tamba reporting after a historic afternoon where Gina Mariam Bass Bite defended her crown. She is indeed the queen of the tracks.
Well, Amadou Tamba describing the scene for us there, how the race has gone about, and also he mentioned the reason there that Gina Bass is defending the crown that she won in the Rabat Games in 2019, that was in Morocco. So getting this far and capping it off with this fantastic performance is something beautiful. Now let's go to the podium where she was actually giving her medal and also a flower as well. Beautiful.
Gina has won this crown since 2019 and came here and defended this crown again. For the ladies around the African continent to take this crown off Gina, it's really going to require a lot of persistence and hard work, because this woman is not here to stop anymore.
Not to stop anymore, and she will be going for the Olympic Games in Paris later this year. That's going to be in August, and before that she will be preparing, of course, through other competitions. As we know, he was at the Glasgow Indoors and will be also following those updates as well. Well, Gina Mariam Bass Bite spoke to a host of journalists after the race, and this is what she had to say in that interview.
I just thank God having 2 gold medals for my country. I really thank God.
Coming into this competition, I mean, you are looking forward to this, and it has happened now. Can you say, I mean, this is the best moment for you as an athlete in your career?
Yeah, it's really a great moment. Winning 2 gold medals in one competition. It's not easy though, because running 3 days, running 6 races is not easy, but I just thank God winning 2 gold medals for my country.
What can we say is behind, I mean, the consistency? You've been performing, I mean, going up and up. What is behind your consistency?
Just hard work, train hard, and believe on yourself. Because if you did not believe on yourself, I don't think so. And you believe your coach. Because if you don't believe your coach, no matter how your coach is weak, you can't reach the level that you want to reach. So I just believe my coach, and I believe myself, and the hard work.
You seem to be reserving yourself in your races. You will create a wide gap between you and the rest of the athletes. But towards the finish line, when you see you slowing down, are you reserving anything?
Yeah, in the hits, I have to reserve myself because you have to run hits, semi-finals and finals. It's not an easy race. If I want to put all my effort in the hits and semi-finals and finals, it will be tough. That's why I have to slow down in the semi-finals.
What is the target now that you conquered, I mean, the African Games?
Yeah, my target is go back and train hard towards the Olympics, and my objective is to be in the final in the Olympics.
Knowing that you are the defending champion of this 200 meters, does that give you any pressure coming into this race to defend it?
Yeah, it does give me the pressure because running with the other athletes, 2019 I was not expecting that I will win Talu, which I did, so the same can happen. It's really a treasure to me because it's early season, so we did preparation, but it's not enough. So being here, winning 2 gold medals, defending my title, I'm really grateful and thank God.
You know, you have been winning gold and silver in the medal and now what is your target in the Olympics? The last time you did well, you beat the semi-finals, but you did not make it to the final. So Gambians, be hopeful that at least qualify to the finals.
Yeah, that is my target, to be among the finalists in the Olympics, because I have been in the semis My first year in Olympic, I stopped in the hits. Second year, I stopped in the semis. And I hope this third one, I'll be in the final.
Do you have anyone you want to dedicate these medals to?
Of course, my husband now. But I am married, so I'll give my medals to him because he's supportive too. He's someone that understands sport. If by his glory today I'm here, if he does not allow me to be here, I will not.
Gina, coming from the Gambia, participating here in the African Games, almost all the African countries are taking part. And you winning 2 gold medals in the 100 meters and 200 meters. Now, of course, in the Gambia and so many other countries in Africa, you are a role model. What would be your advice to the young girls who want to be like you tomorrow?
Everything is determination. You have to believe yourself and trust the process. And believe yourself because everybody cannot be in the offices. So being in sport or any other place that you may find yourself, you just have to believe yourself and trust yourself. And the hard work first and discipline.
Is there any message that you have for the government of Uganda?
Well, the government, I just want to tell them that they have to help the sport in Gambia because if the younger ones are involved in sport, there is so many crimes in the country. So if they can help the sport to develop in the Gambia, it will be really good.
Gina Mariam Basbite there, talking to a host of journalists, including our very own Amadou Tamba. Well, about lots of things, dedicating the victory to the husband, that is Mustafa Bite. He must be a very proud man at the moment. And also talking about how governments would support sports, how it helps, of course, the youth and in reducing crime rate. Because if they are engaged, you know, they're doing something that puts food on the table. Obviously, it is something that is going to keep them busy and will keep them concentrated on a host of other things rather than thinking of committing a crime. Well, still talking about the African Games, Guinea-Bissau, of course, doing that fantastic achievement of reaching the finals of the 200 meters and winning it, making it a double gold medal for her rather, in also the 100 meters. Earlier on, I engaged Amadou Tamba to talk about the African Games, the 100 meters that Guinea-Bissau earlier on won, and also talking about the Gambia's performance at the Continents Games in a Zoom interview earlier.
Gajaga, it's a pleasure to speak to you from Accra here. Yes, as I said, it was a wonderful moment for the Gambia and for Guinea-Bissau as well. It was a very difficult African Games here because football, volleyball, and other aspects were finding it very difficult to, of course, get a gold or silver or bronze. But when Gina started, we had the belief that she will absolutely win us a medal with type, whether gold, silver, or bronze. But we're expecting that the medal will surely come. And she started brightly in the hits, finishing first, and also in the semifinals, finishing first. And then we had to believe that, yes, she will wrap it up in the finals. And she absolutely came all out to claim the gold medal in the finals, beating Olayinka of Nigeria and, of course, McCoy of Liberia. Those were the closest challenges to her in the finals. And absolutely, it was a wonderful moment at the University of Ghana Stadium. Gina proving to Gambians, Africans, and the world at large that she's an exceptional sprinter.
Well, tell us about how incredible the scene was at the Ghana University of the Ghana Sports Stadium. That moment when she came first. Well, there are, of course, Gambians. I understand few of the Gambians who are in Ghana, and also some of the under-20 players were also there to support her. And, you know, a cross-section of Gambians, you are there as journalists as well, but also officials of the Ministry of Youth and Sports were also around.
Yeah, it was just a few meters walk from the games village. Of course, the Gambia under-20 players, knowing that they were not on duty that day, so decided to walk out to the stadium. and even some of the technical team, Amadou Jani and others who were part of the delegation also were at the stadium to watch. And then, as you said earlier on, the permanent secretary, Minister of Youth and Sports, of course, she was also there, and the media and the delegation as well were there to give her the required support. And well, Gajaga, it was a very wonderful moment, and goosebumps for me personally, because I was standing in the press box, and of course taking a look at Gina as she took off her starting point, leaving her closest challengers behind. And whenever she is to finish the race, she makes sure there is a distance between her and those following. Hardly there is a closer or tighter distance between her and the ones who are following. So at the finish point, we were like, wow, this is what we expected, this is what we wanted, and this girl has absolutely delivered for the Gambia. And the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Mrs. Njai, was on her feet as well to cheer on Gina. And you could see at some point I turned the camera to her, and she was like, just in a very, very, yeah, she was in a jubilant mood. And after the event, when I went to her, she was like, "Man, don't celebrate, you're on camera." So it was such a wonderful moment, and so emotional as a Gambian to be at that stadium, and of course see Gina achieve such an accolade in front of a lot of athletes was just wonderful. It was really, really wonderful, and this girl has made a lot of Gambians proud, every Gambian to be precise, because whether you're in Accra, you're in Banjul, anywhere you are in the world, you are absolutely proud of her.
Well, Amadou, it would be no surprise today if she goes on to the tracks again in the 200 meters final and win us another gold medal, double gold for her and 2 gold medals for the country. All hopes and fingers crossed for that.
Well, absolutely. I am not in a pressure way, or I am not under pressure per se, because I am absolutely hopeful that she can go on to defend the title. Remember, she is the holder of this gold medal from the Rabat edition. And in the 100 meters, that is, people were saying that is not her best, and she managed to win the 100 meters. And if you look at the trajectory for her in the 100 meters, that's the same trajectory that she's following in the 200 meters. In the 100 meters, she finished first in the heats, first in the semifinals, first in the finals. And in the 200 meters, she finished first in the heats, first in the semifinals, now in the final. I expect her to complete that trio of finishing top of every race that she goes into. Yes, there will be a lot of challenges from other athletes, but definitely I expect Gina Bass to complete the race today above everyone, and of course defend her gold medal, and of course, why not get Gambia the second gold medal in this African Games here in Accra.
Amadou, is she somehow strategic in the way she runs? I could see in the 200 meters heats yesterday when I watched the video, at the start up to the bend, you know, she was a little bit not so explosive. Even towards the end, you could see kind of a little bit a relaxed person who is not running to beat her time like a personal best or something like that, just running to make sure that, you know, she at least reaches the final. And then in the final, you know, maybe she's going to be explosive.
Yes, Gadaga, you're definitely right. She's taking her time and managing her time very well. As of yesterday, when we had her live on Q Radio, just after finishing her race, she made mention of something like that. And importantly, she talked about the bend, because in the 200 meters, there's a very important point. That is, of course, the bend. That is where most of the athletes will lose their balance, or others will lose their pace. So she talks about the importance of timing herself very well to make sure she has a good bend. And when she bends, then she will know how to, of course, compose herself and get to the finish line. But she has been managing her time very well to make sure she finishes above everyone. You know, if you are to blow in the first race, that is in the heats or in the semifinals, other athletes that you're beating along the way, or other athletes that you are not in the same group when it comes to the hits, will try to adjust their timings to catch up to you. So she's very, very much intelligent in that way to make sure she manages her time very well. The most important thing is to finish on top before you talk about the personal best or so. Even if you have a personal best and you don't finish on top, it doesn't make sense. But she's absolutely very much careful in the way she runs and manages her time very, very well. So today is the final race. That is 200 meters final. Yes, I expect her to blow, but again, she will absolutely have it in the back of her mind that, look, I have to manage myself very well. The most important thing is to finish or to reach the finish line ahead of everyone. No matter what time I clock, just to make sure I finish above everyone at the finishing point.
Well, that is hugely important, and we wish her all the best of luck later today when she runs in the final there against Africa's best when it comes to the women's sprints in the 200 meters. But Amadou, aside from her, we're running out of time, but let's briefly talk about the men's relay team reaching the final, although missing out on the podium. The 200 meters also, Adama Jammeh, despite first time thinking that, okay, he didn't make it rather, but eventually made it to the finals of the men's 200 meters as well. It's quite an achievement.
Yes, it's absolutely a very good achievement for Adama. Remember, he's the captain of the athletics team. If the captain is not doing it to the semi-finals or the finals, it's going to be a little bit disappointing for him, knowing that he's the captain. So he did his utmost best and of course, made himself proud and Gambians proud by getting into the finals of the 200 meters. He was unfortunate to get to the finals of the 100 meters, but he did very well. And he did very well. And now he's in the finals of the 200 meters. So he will absolutely want to go a step further. He will say, look, I was unable to make it to the finals of the 100 meters. Now I get my place in the 200 meters final. So I will endeavor to make sure either I finish first, second, or third. I think those three will be his target. But if he improves on what he did in the semifinals, I expect him to, of course, finish on the podium. Because remember, the hits and the semifinals are quite different because they're into different groups. So the finals will comprise of the best. So it's really going to be a very difficult race, but we expect Adama also to at least get a medal. The relay team did so well in the semifinals, but at the finals, they found it very difficult because you had the Nigerians, you had the Ghanaians there who absolutely have very good relay teams as well. But notwithstanding, I think they've played their part, and these are all areas that needs to be looked at.
And I understand they broke the national record.
Yes, they broke the national record, but that wasn't for them to be on the podium. One will say if you are so good to such a level of breaking the national record, of course you should be on the podium to at least get a medal, whether it will be bronze, silver, or gold. But it was unfortunate for the team. But absolutely, they had a very, very good race, and they could be proud. They will be proud of themselves, and Gambians will definitely be proud of themselves, despite not finishing on the podium. I think these are races that they need to look into and try to improve in future competitions to come. But absolutely, they did a good job.
Well, that was my interview earlier on with Amadou Tamba, talking about the African Games, the Gambia's team in the different categories, especially when it comes to the men's 4x100 meters relay team reaching the final, and also Adama Jammeh reaching the finals of the men's 200 meters, but not good enough. He finished 7th, but it's due to your timing. So we know athletics is like that. You could break your own national record, but your national record is not good enough even to finish, let's say, top 3, comparing it with other nations. Joining me in the studio is an excited athletics fan. Yes, aside from football, Ade also watches a lot of athletics and is very much interested in it. You've been following Guinea-Bass, of course, and also other athletes in the Gambia when it comes to the African Games. Your assessment so far?
Yeah, following keenly, and particularly Guinea-Bass, as you rightly say. Ever since I came to the Gambia, I've been a big fan of Guinea-Bass's. She's an exceptional athlete, and I think Gambia has a gem, and we should treasure her. And so from day one that I got here, I've always said, you know, let's give her a higher profile than she already has. Now that she's a double African champion, I expect her profile to go through the roof, not just in the Gambia, but I think across Africa, because athletics fans across Africa will be thinking, she's from little Gambia and she's won double gold. And I got that in some of the forums where I posted her achievements that were kind of all Sierra Leonean forums, and they were saying, how on earth has this happened with a Gambian? And I said, well, she's an exceptional athlete. And I say this in the context of Sierra Leone in the women's races. I think all of their runners came last in their heats. And so the contrast could not be greater. Gina won every one of her heats, and she won her semis, both 100, 200, and of course she's a double gold medalist. Fantastic achievement.
Well, such an athlete who did fantastically well to this level, how should she be celebrated? Let's, like in any country, when you have an athlete, a standalone person
Sure.
who every time gets to the top and achieves to raise the country's flag high.
Yeah, I think, you know, if this was in any other country, what you would expect is lots of commercial entities, lots of companies would want her as their brand ambassador. You know, who better to have as your brand ambassador than a double African champion? Not only that, somebody who retained her 200. As she said, when she beat Marie-Josée Talou in Rabat, Talou was the favorite.
Favorite, yes.
And so when she went into this, she was not complacent. And if you saw the 200-meter race, it was closer than in the 100-meter race. It was a tough race. But she has what it takes to win, because sometimes it's just about being fast. Olajide could have been the winner. She'd had a very good season leading up to these games, but she's twice been bested by, you know, by Gina Bass, you know, still getting used to calling her Gina Mariam Bass Bite.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be difficult.
We'll get there.
So
we'll get there.
Mr. Bite will accept that, you know.
Yeah, he must forgive us that we've
yeah.
been used to calling her Gina Bass for so long. You know, so she went in then, she wasn't complacent. And, you know, a lot of people, sometimes they say, oh, I'll just do enough to qualify for the semi or qualify for the final. She wanted to put down a marker that I'm the woman, you know, I am the number one. She won her heats, she won her semis, and of course she smashed them in the final. Absolutely brilliant.
And overall, coming from a country where the sports infrastructure is almost non-existent.
It's non-existent. Let's not say almost. It's
Yes.
non-existent.
The stadium, the
Yeah.
tracks,
Yeah.
part of it is not good enough. And at the end of the day, the renovation also makes it very difficult. Gina previously used to go to Dakar at the High Performance Center.
quite.
Until recently,
Yeah.
she was in France,
yeah.
training as well, you know, competing. Just before the race was in the Glasgow indoors, and went to Ghana for this competition. So coming from a country like that and performing this well tells a lot to say these infrastructures need to be in place.
Can you imagine if we had decent infrastructure, what could be achieved? Not only would she be African champion, she'd probably be world and Olympic champion, because, you know, having to travel out of your country to go and train and so on is not the best, you know, because there's a kind of mental thing as well, the kind of peace of mind when, you know, if I train, I go home, you know, not if I train, I go to a hotel. Honestly, all those things matter to an athlete. And you know, so if we had the infrastructure, and again, we're talking about the men's 4x1, you know, they got to the final, but unfortunately, you know, they couldn't progress any further. But just individually, the men who ran in that, if we had a home-based track where they could come and train or so on, but also let's inspire the ones who are here, because, you know, a lot of our athletes now actually live outside of the country anyway. That's not just, you know, unique to the Gambia. But if we had a decent track and decent training facilities, we could achieve so much more.
And some of these athletes, how athletics works in the Gambia is, Gina Bass used to be in school or running for the schools, and there is just bare sand, the bare ground. That's where they run. Yeah. So imagine starting from there and then getting on. The only time they have a feel of track is at the stadium.
Yeah.
So if you have the tracks, and this is a competition that was hosted in Accra, Ghana, but at the University Sports Stadium,
Yeah.
not even the Accra Sports Stadium. That's their main stadium, not the national one.
Yes.
So if you can get that, I'm not comparing Gambia to Ghana, but at least have a decent,
I've been-
good athletics track facility.
In 2019, I went to this stadium. I was impressed. I thought, wow, university, and they have this?
Yes.
It's fantastic. It's like a proper international standard, as we've seen from the competition that's taken place there. I mean, just to switch sports slightly differently, you were talking about the Marimu game, and you were saying that the terrible pitch that they played on. I mean, it was abysmal, you know, and people will see it when they see the footage there. But, you know, it's about investing. And sometimes it's not always about government, because sometimes government doesn't have the money. But, you know, commercial entities can build stadia across the 7 regions of the Gambia and name the stadium after your business, whatever your business is. But, you know, so we can have people train at a high standard regionally. They don't all have to come to the capital. You know, even in Ghana, you go to Kumasi, you go to Tema, you go to all different places. They have decent facilities, so everybody doesn't have to come to Accra. But as you rightly say, this is the university stadium, and look at how magnificent it is. You know, so yes, we can regionalize it, and the money doesn't necessarily have to come from. And to be honest, I get the feeling that we don't reach out enough to international partners. Some of them might be willing to fund. We've got the OIC summit coming soon. What we should be doing in the sports is tapping some of those 56 visiting heads of state and the ministers who are coming with them and said, you know, look, for you to build a stadium for us in Basse or in Soma and so on, it's chicken change. You know, would you consider doing it? You know, let's not be shy about making those connections come the summit.
Well, the High Performance Center in Dakar, Senegal, well, we all know Lamine Diack.
Yeah.
By the time, you know, he was the IAAF president or chairman, you know, how you lobby for this kind of connections and things like that. Those are things that would definitely help if you get the sports infrastructure ready, the facility in your country.
Well, this is it. And you know, again, many times I've talked about Jamaica, and, you know, for all of my life, Jamaica has been turning out high quality sprinters, you know, way, you know, back into Don Quarry and all those people in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right up to Usain Bolt and more. And if you go around Jamaica, I mean, their inter-school is highly competitive. You see guys there running, and they're running under 10 seconds. In the 100 meters. And you're thinking, wow, these are school sports.
That's why they have a national championship before they go to the Olympics.
This is
they do a selection.
They do it, and the selection is tough.
Very tough.
You know, so, you know, we need something, but we keep saying this, we need better infrastructure. And with better infrastructure will come better results. And, you know, I feel sorry for the men, you know, the sprinter men, but, you know, let Gina's success be the spur to say, okay, let's build on this. Let's not just, you know, bathe in the glow of her achievement. Let's use it as the impetus and inspiration to push us to actually improve sports infrastructure in this country. You're talking about people running on sand. It's a disgrace. I'm this old and I ran on sand back home in Sierra Leone. People should not still be running
on sand, absolutely.
People should not still be running on sand or dirt tracks in this day and age. 2024, come on, you know. Let us try and build across the nation. As I said, let's decentralize it so people don't always have to come to the capital or close to the capital to get the best facilities. Let us have the facilities spread across the country. Everybody benefits, and there's always a spillover effect. If you have a stadium in Basse, for example, every time there's an event, all the people who are food sellers and so on, they all benefit. It can stimulate business as well. So it's not just about the sport. It's other events and other activities can take place at these stadia, and businesses can benefit from them.
Aside from athletics, Gambia took part in 8 sporting disciplines. They took part in judo, volleyball, beach, indoor as well. If you look at the other sports as well, swimming. Yep. So the sports where they failed to achieve much, and it was a lot expected, is a beach volleyball. You and I talked about the partnership, whether it has really some ripple effects in it. Saini Jao it was, and Mbaye Babou Jara. Mbaye Babou Jara, after the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, decided to quit. And Saini was alone. Initially, he was paired with Jahara Koita. Jahara went all the way to training in Doha, Qatar, training. And we thought, you know, that could be a good partnership because they're both tall. the other guy, in fact, used to be short at the time.
Okay.
So at least with this one combination, one would thought that absolutely this is going to be a good partnership. But all of a sudden, we decided, or the coach said, he's pairing him with Mario Damfa. Then they went to the competition. Things didn't turn out very good. They lost all three
Kenya, Sierra Leone.
matches. Yeah, Kenya, Sierra Leone.
Not countries that you would think would normally beat them, really. And I think for many of us that was a shock, because sometimes coaches can make wrong selections or wrong decisions. And for us, it's no point crying over spilt milk. Let us learn from the mistake, if it was a mistake. Or let us learn the lessons of such a poor performance when they were expected, they were among the favourites, and all of a sudden you get knocked out, lose quite badly, one has to say. It wasn't that, they were close or they were in it, really. What are the lessons to be learned from that? And let us learn those lessons. Sometimes the best lessons are the bitter ones that you learn, because you think to yourself, I would never let this happen again. And I think that's what we have to do, and that's the mentality we have to come with.
And for the same volleyball competition in the indoor, usually what you get from the coaches is, for most of the athletes, this is their first time, or they're not used to this kind of facility, they're not used to
playing in front of big crowds.
Big crowds, and because in the Gambia it's on a bare concrete where they train and also where they have their competitions on. Yeah. So even if you want to fall and defend the ball, you think you're falling on the concrete. So you rather try to at least keep yourself in shape.
And I keep saying this, for me, since I came to the Gambia, I realized that this is very much a country of sport-loving people. It's not just about football. Yes, football is way and above the number one. But people are into all kinds of sports: volleyball, basketball, cricket, tennis. But they just don't have the facilities or the opportunities to play. And really, we keep making this point, not begging anybody, but we're saying invest and you will reap the benefits. And the benefits can be many. Some of those athletes we know now. I saw the other day, Usain Bolt bought a $45 million house for his mother. From what? He's a runner, he's a sprinter, or he was, he's retired now, of course. But, that just shows you the wealth that can come from a successful career. And I love what Gina said in her interview. Not everybody can work in an office. Some people, their talent might be an athletic talent. Let us capitalize on that. Let us build on that. And also we need to say this to teachers. Sometimes you have, and that's one of the things I liked about teachers I met growing up. There were teachers who were so good that they realized that people had different talents. Not everybody was going to be a mathematician or a scientist or a doctor or a lawyer. Somebody was very good at football, or they were good at running, and they encouraged that. And they told them where they could go to develop it. That's what you need. Not everybody, we all have different talents if we can spot those talents and build upon them.
Well, often in athletics, they say you improve on your timing. We've seen that the male team for the 200 meters, Adam Ajame did, broke his own personal best as well. In fact, set a national record for the relay 4x100 meters as well, reaching the final. Yes, although didn't finish in the podium, but good enough for them. Is this something that you can build on? Because usually in athletics, it's very difficult in the sprints to beat your time and then move to the next level, especially when you go to a level where you set the national record.
Sometimes there are fine margins, and if anybody watched the 4x100, it was tight. It was tight.
Very close.
It was very close, and you never know what can happen. I mean, we've seen instances in the 4x1 where the favorites have dropped their baton, or somebody has fallen, and a team that was completely unfavored or unfancied ends up on the podium. So it can happen. It's, as I said, it's fine margins, and on another day, another 100th of a second of beating your national record could have put you on the podium, and move you up a couple of places. That's how close, and that's so you can't despair. You can actually take that as encouragement that this was a good performance, but so tight were the sort of margins in terms of who won and who came fifth, that on another day, you could have ended up with a medal, silver or bronze. So.
You and I had an argument on athletics when you're growing older, and then you become faster, I cannot take that. In any sports, you expected footballers, you had a slowdown in performance if you had speed before. Cristiano Ronaldo can no longer sprint like he used to sprint when he was at Man United.
That's right.
Lionel Messi, had dropped when it comes to the sprinting. Still skillful, still passes, still when it comes to goals.
But it's not, the speed isn't there.
Yeah, but it's only in athletics that I see that, people, okay, you were 21 before and now you're 29. You're faster when you were 21.
You're faster than when you were 20.
Yes,
It's kind of bizarre. I mean, some of it is to do with people will say that, I've learned to improve my diet, I train better, I've learned more things. But you're right. I mean, physiologically, somebody who was a sprinter, world-class sprinter at 20 and at 36, or 30, whatever, Fraser Price and people like that are running faster than they were then. It really doesn't seem to make sense. And logically, it shouldn't make sense. But, there are people who, of course, we've found out that we're not saying all of them to kind of enhance whatever, to enhance their performance, illegal means. But it does seem to be quite perplexing. And it's something that seems to have happened in the last, 10 years or so, 10, 12 years, where people who, as they're getting older, still getting faster. You had some people who were like a kind of freaks, like Frankie Fredericks of Namibia. I mean, Frankie Fredericks, as a sprinter, unbelievably, was at the top for about 15 years. For sprinters, that's a long time to be at the top, where you're either winning or you're coming second or third or fourth or just missing out on a medal. I mean, he was always there or thereabouts for a good 15 years. That is unheard of for a sprinter. And yet, in fact, Frankie Fredericks is probably longer than 15 years, actually, maybe 16, 17 years he was at the top of his game. But he was an unusual one. But now we're seeing lots and lots of people who, as you rightly say, particularly a lot of women who, as they're getting older, seem to be getting faster. And it's like, how? Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. It's just something that unheard of, think of. Yeah, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will open the phone lines for you if you want to celebrate Gina Mariam Bas-Biteye with us about her achievement for this country, going all the way there, being top in the continent twice in succession, winning the 200 meters gold medal to cap it off. That is, of course, when she won the 100 meters and defending the title that she won in the Rabat Games in Morocco.
Never before in the Gambia, QCell is giving you an unbeatable offer. Activate our 5G network on your 5G enabled phone and enjoy free internet for 7 days. Yes, you heard that right. Activate QCell's 5G on your phone and experience what true 5G internet feels like. Get your QCell SIM cards activated today at the following care centers: Banjul, Senegambia, Brikama, Bursubi Turntable, Bakau Airport, and Kairaba Avenue headquarters. Rush now and be part of the future with QCell's 5G. Free internet for 7 days only with QCell. For more information, call QCell Customer Care on 111. QCell Sunyubus. We innovate. Orders follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. This is Qsports, and I'm Mumutu Gajaga. Thank you. And we will now open the phone lines. 5050505 is the number if you want to join us to talk about Gina Mariam Bas-Biteye for her achievements for this country, winning double gold medal at the African Games, the 13th edition in Ghana. And for the 200 meters, of course, it was a title defense, defending of a crown, which is very rare. They said it's always difficult to win it for the first time, but it's even more difficult to defend it, and she was able to do that.
She was able to do that, and that is a kind of an adage that applies to many sports, not just athletics. It can happen in football, it can happen, of course, except if you're in Germany, like you Bayern Munich, and you've won the league for the last 11 years. But, for many teams, winning something for the first time, for many athletes, winning something for the first time, as you said, could be hard, but then the harder bit is, how do I defend it? Because There's also a mentality that you go in with as a champion, but also there are people who are after you because you are the champion.
We got our first caller. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Gazeta, how are you doing? And Mr. Adi, I say good morning to you all.
Yes,
Familiar
that's a
voice.
familiar voice, huh?
Is that
Do I have
Don
to
Williams?
expose you?
Yeah, it's me, Don Williams. Coming from Southampton.
Yes, Mr. Don Williams.
Yeah. Let me first of all start from where you ended up before. Yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
Let me start from where you ended up first.
Yes.
I'm talking about when you get older, you perform better than when you are a bit younger. Yeah. The reason for that is the muscles are becoming, when you grow older, the muscles become matured. And in sports, muscles play a very vital role in performance. All right? So when the athlete gets older, the muscles become more matured and they're able to perform better. That's one of the reasons why when they get older, they perform better.
Oh.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And this is coming
now-
from somebody who follows a lot about athletics. Well,
In athletics,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think what-
Mostly in
yeah.
athletics, for athletics. Let me come to Gina Bass. I want to congratulate Gina.
go ahead, Don.
I want to congratulate Gina Bass.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise for Gina, for me, for Gina to reach the pinnacle of sports like that. Because it started right here. Gina Bass was seen as nothing when it was with Brikama, because it started its sporting career. She started a sporting career here in Farafeni. And then I brought her in. I personally brought her into the 2008 makeup in Farafeni. And then that's where it performed better. And then it brought her into the national team. So if she's performing now, it's not a surprise because at that time she was 14 years old. But it was just in Brikama because of her size. And then when I picked her up to join us in the NACOM, joined together with Babu Fati and this other, we performed, then able to sit and then perform better and become the best as we won the NACOM at that time. So I want to say congratulations to Gina and to the Gambia female. They can do better. We have athletes that can do better than Gina. I believe all they need to do is to encourage them.
Thank you very much,
That's
Don.
what I want to say there.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don Williams.
Yeah, I mean, we get what Don is saying about, the muscles get stronger and mature. But I think for sprinters, traditionally, we're talking about for the last 110 years, sprinters beyond a certain point, we're talking about beyond 30, 35, should really not be running faster than they were when they were 25.
5 years.
Because at 25 already, that is when you are fastest. And you use the Cristiano Ronaldo analogy very well. 10 years ago, he was much faster than he is now, but his muscles have matured, and he has slowed down.
Yes.
But it's sprinters on the track
Right.
who seem to be these freaks of nature. Who seem to be, they're getting, some of them are running and they're 40, and they're still running better than when they were 25.
Yeah.
But your ordinary person in the street running after the bus, when they're 40 compared to running after a bus when they were 25, can't do it.
Right.
But athletes,
mind-blowing.
It's so, we haven't quite figured out how they've managed to do it, but it is somewhat perplexing.
Maybe time to do a specific research on this.
I'm sure people are doing
yeah,
that.
Yeah, definitely.
Just haven't worked out what's happening yet.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to join us, this is Qsports, and if you want to celebrate Gina Mariam Bass Bite with us, it's 5050505. That's the number if you want to join us. Well, Don was talking about the fact that in the early days, 2008, when Gina was running for a school and also competing in inter-schools athletics. Yeah, it appears we have another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I am Ibrahim Asante. I'm calling from Busumbara.
Okay, Brahma, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be part of the program.
Thank you.
The basics of sport development in each country have to have a premise.
Okay.
And the premise here is it's about infrastructure. Gambians are talented, but what we are lacking is the infrastructure and right management. Imagine even yesterday, the whole country, like some other countries, are having their test games. Gambians are not having their test games.
Yeah.
And this all Africa game, if you see our athletes, you realize that these are people who have the talents, but they were not having the best facilities in terms of training prior to them going to that event. We can even see. So I don't know what the sport journalists are doing, but for me, it's better we call the right authorities and the sport ministry and national sport councils and government and to have a dialogue with them. That's all what we need from them is for them to create the enabling environment to prosper. We don't want them to give us millions in cash. We want them to spend those millions in sport infrastructure. Just as Mr. Ade said, when they develop on our infrastructure, the government's use, we can just flourish. We just want the basis. We just want the premise for them to help us develop some of these things for us. As youths, we cannot build stadiums for ourselves. We cannot build tracks for ourselves. We cannot build infrastructures for ourselves. It is the responsibility of the government to create such things. Rather than spending millions on things that are not relevant to national development, let them spend those things on sporting infrastructure and see in the next 5 years how Gambians youth will become. So sometimes it's frustrating as a Gambian youth having a talent, but not having the support is another thing. When you go to the streets of the Gambia, all the streets, you will find footballers, young footballers, young athletes, everything you know of in sport. Gambians are really good, but the problem is our leaders and those managing us are the problem. Really, they are not helping us. I'm thanking all of you for what you are doing, but still, we can still push further and have a collective dialogue with the government, the Sport Ministry, the National Sport Council, the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure to look at these areas.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think I can stop here and allow others to comment. But definitely, it's very sad to be honest. To be a Gambian is frustrating at certain point because we are also comparing ourselves with other sister countries.
Thank you very much.
And that's a good interjection.
Yes,
there, actually.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what he's talking about is a fact when you look at the state of infrastructure and how if you have the infrastructure, it can help spring your sports to another level, your athletes, at creating employment for them. Because these athletes, when they become professionals, whatever that they earn comes back to the Gambia. The footballers who are successful, who build houses and all of that, it's very good for the economy. It helps in the human development capital of every country.
And you've said the magic word there about human development and human capital. It's about having the foresight to think 5, 10, 15 years ahead, not just today and tomorrow. If you plan this infrastructure, some of the current athletes might not benefit from it because of the time it might take to build it, but the ones coming after them will be inspired by the likes of Gina Bass, and by the time they are ready to reach that stage, the infrastructure will be here. So we have to think further ahead. We have to have the foresight to plan ahead. And the countries that succeed, that's what they do. They don't just build for today. They build for tomorrow and for the day after, in terms of, long-term planning. So, and that's what has to happen, and that is what is not happening.
Well, let me just jump in here a little bit. Mr. Darame, I spoke to a Gambian athlete some few years ago who told me, you see David Rhodesia of Kenya, there was a time he was world champion, Olympic champion. Yeah. He told me when he started initially, I used to beat him. But travel frustration, sometimes I wouldn't have competition, sometimes I wouldn't have the facilities to train on and things like that. And all of a sudden, I decided to quit in athletics. So that's a very sad situation. It's somebody that you used to beat when you were competing as youngsters.
Now regarded as one of the greats.
You're watching him on TV. You can no longer compete, and you decided to quit.
And that's a brilliant example.
Absolutely. That's a brilliant example. And on that note, we say completely knockout blow when it comes to the time, and have a lovely day. Wonderful, wonderful day. Until we come your way next week. Keep on sporting, and bye for now.